Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. And I'm only going to show my face for the first minute or so, and after that I'm not going to be on the screen. So we want to welcome you, both BL and I and Michael that's behind the scenes, and we hope that you will find this as enlightening as we intend it to be. At any rate, we're going to get started. What I would like to say, however, is that our first time here is just an introduction to the whole idea of pairs of opposites, with a little bit of astrology to start with, the basics. And you will find that on the slides, we have a lot of information, probably a lot more than anyone would ever have if they were just doing a presentation at the conference. But these are teaching notes. And they will be available. They will be available on the Moria Federation site, as well as, I think, on the Makara site. So you will be able to download these notes and have them for reference purposes. So here, I'm going to say goodbye, and we move on. Okay, so do I have control of this?
No, I do. I'll flip the slides, but you have to tell me when.
Okay, let's go on. Let's move on. Okay. Okay, so here's a little bit of astronomy to get us oriented into understanding a little bit more about our astrology. And what we have here is information on how the zodiac actually is represented to us in our system. So the sun moves along a path through the heavens. That path is called the ecliptic, and it has constellation as a backdrop. Now, zodiac, according to the definition, is a Greek terminology meaning animals. And these animals are part of a band. They call this a narrow band. But if you look at the map that some people have of the heavens, and you look at all these stars, it doesn't look so narrow. But I guess in the whole scheme of things, it's space. It is considered fairly narrow. So it's a band in the sky where the planets are charted against the background of the ecliptic or the zodiac. Okay, we move on. Just a little depiction here of the planets. You will note that you have the Earth, which is the third one, and it's the picture that we're familiar with seeing about the Earth. And next to that, yeah, that's our moon there. Yeah, is Venus is on its left, and on the right you have the red Mars. But look at the size of Jupiter. I mean, it's magnificent. And when we say it's very, very big and powerful and has tremendous amount of energy, you can see why. And then, of course, next to it is Saturn with all the rings around it. And you notice that it's not parallel to the ground. It's on an angle. And I think that I think it's Uranus is also on an angle with its head to the sun, so we're told. Anyway, here we are. We look at that. I don't think Pluto's included in here, nor is Vulcan. Vulcan never is because it's etheric, and it would be right up, probably right in that etheric or right in that area around the sun. Okay, so we move on. Okay, so here's just another depiction of something that we're talking about. Constellations are the configurations of suns or groups of stars in the sky that names have been attributed to. Now, a constellation is two or more suns. I mean, think about that, two or more suns. So a constellation has tremendous amount of magnetic power to it. And when you think of our sun, so every constellation is a minimum of two suns. We call them stars, but a star is a sun. Signs, on the other hand, are the confluence of concentrated influence. They are made up of collective thoughts, ideas, and influences that man has about these constellations. Much of this knowledge has been passed down through the ages. So there is a definite difference between constellations and signs. We tend to use the words interchangeably, but the constellations are the actual configurations in the heavens, the actual stars themselves that are living entities. Signs, on the other hand, are the concentrated influence of these constellations. So if nothing else, at least understand that the two are not synonymous. Okay. So here we have astronomy and astrology both agree on calling the zodiac, which is a figure of the heavenly animals. And that's interesting that we see animals for all the signs except the 3 air signs. For them, we have humans or inanimate objects like the scales for Libra. And I had to think about that. Why are the air signs not animals? And the only thing I can think of is that we're moving into the next age, the age of Aquarius, which is air. And these are the air signs. And air for us is mind. And we know we're going to need to ramp up and start working with our minds a lot more than we have presently. Why? Because the soul lives, dwells, is on the plane of mind. And really the only way that we can start having soul contact, soul influence, is through the energy of the mind. So today, it's divided into 12 parts of equal width in correspondence with the well-known constellations. So that's the ecliptic. Well, it's parallel to the ecliptic, but it is known that it is not, and probably would not always be the case, of 12. When we think back of Egyptian times, there were only 10 partitions. And we know that in the future, according to the Tibetan, will be again at 10. We think of the Sphinx, which is a combo of Leo and Virgo, right? You have the body of the animal, Leo, and you have the face of Virgo, the Virgin. And because at that time, the instinctual nature of man was still really, really strong and high. So there was a combination of what we call the human instincts versus the animal instincts. That was a combination. I think from everything I've read that next time around, whenever the next cycle is, it'll be a combination of Virgo and Libra. We'll have to be around and see that, right? Okay, next. See some more pictures to give us an idea of what we're looking at. So this is a little repetitive here. The sun moves along a path through the heavens called the ecliptic and has the constellations as a backdrop. The signs or seasons are found along the ecliptic or the path that the planets track through the sky. So the sun lies at the center of the solar system, and Earth, and I think there is a picture there of the Earth, which is, as you can see the orbit around the sun there. The Earth moves around it against the backdrop or the background of the zodiac. So like we have said, the zodiac, the constellations are living, they're alive. So the zodiac is a living entity. We are told its center is everywhere. Its periphery is nowhere. And between one and the other, an infinite field of reciprocal exchanges pulsates. So energies are given off constantly, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. And they almost speak to each other, if I can use that crude way of describing it, with various energies. Like when we are in each other's company, we give off energy, someone else receives it. If we're angry, they receive that anger, right? If we're happy, someone else will receive that positive energy that we emanate when we're happy. Well, these constellations do something similar. They give off energy, they give off vibrations. and the other ones partake in that. Okay. So here we're going to explain a little bit about the etheric web and prana, and I'm going to go to the left here where it says prana. It's a Sanskrit word for absolute energy. So it's the active principle of life and is all pervading. It's found everywhere and in everything. Sometimes when I offer presentations on the chakra system, I have beautiful pictures of Kirlian photography, and they have shown how even when there's a limb that someone has lost through illness or an accident, the prana or the vibration or the etheric energy is still there, as if the limb was still there. So everything has energy and everything gives off energy. And the etheric web is the field of space, which is a composite body from even the smallest, tiniest atom to the expanse that we call a universe. It's subtle matter, but it's still considered matter, and it's constantly in circulation. The energies flow, and we have energy, we have forces. And there's a very nice quote here from the Tibetan. Just as the forces of the planet and of the inner spiritual man, to mention only one factor among many, pour through the etheric body of the individual man upon the physical plane and condition his outer expression, his activities and qualities, so do the varying forces of the universe pour through every part of the etheric body of that entity that we call space, and condition and determine the outer expression, the activities and the qualities of every form found within cosmic periphery. Now that was a mouthful, basically to tell us that everything is interconnected through this etheric web that flows in and out of everything, everything from the smallest little atom to the largest constellations or systems that we can think of, solar systems. Okay, we'll move along. So each form, from that tiniest atom to that of a vast constellation, is an embodiment of a life. And each form is conscious. So it's not helter-skelter. There's actually a plan. There's order within the universe, even though we may not know it. That's why we're constantly encouraged to try to get a sense of what the plan is and what our particular a job, assignment, service is within that plan. Okay. So this is another depiction, maybe not the best, to show us how the energy comes down to us. So we start with the life itself. You can call it anything. You can call it God, universal life. It's immaterial, that. And this is where we as living entities have that spirit within us, and it's called within the human individual the monad. But the spark of life, the spark of God, or the monad, it all originates from the life that ensouls everything, everything. And it flows out through these three huge constellations. We call them the Great Bear, which represents the first aspect of God or deity, to Sirius, which is the second aspect, and then to the Pleiades, which is the third aspect. So you have all three aspects represented in these three huge, huge constellations. And then through them, then the energies are filtered down via the 7 rays, and then they go into our system, our solar system, into the sun, and from the sun they get distributed to the planets and through the various planes that make up our system. Now, I don't know how new some of you are to some of this terminology, but a plane is a level of vibration. So for example, the physical plane would include all our physical and etheric vehicles or forms or bodies. The emotional plane, it's called also the astral plane, would be the next plane up, vibrates at a higher frequency than the physical etheric, but it's still a plane. And it's our emotional body is resonant or in resonance with the plane, the emotional plane. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit in trying to understand all these terms and all these words that might be new to some of you. All right, let's move on. So the natal chart or horoscope is two-dimensional. It's a map of the solar system that shows the relationship of the planets to each other and their positions in the zodiacal wheel at a particular time. And that's why it's very important to know the time of birth, because it identifies that particular time when things were in the sky in a particular way. And of course, it gives us our ascendant and it orients the entire chart. So knowing the time we were born in our esoteric astrology is very important. When the soul chooses to incarnate, it carries or takes on a slice of the current etheric pattern. Again, that's played out within our chart between various signs and planets. So we start to look at their relationship to each other and what all that can mean for us. Okay. So astrology essentially is the science of energies, and man is an entity composed of a variety of different energies and forces, and is subject to energies which impact upon him from all quarters. So we know how we affect each other just by the example I used earlier of when someone is angry, you feel that energy, right? When someone is happy, you feel that energy. Well, likewise, all these planets and signs, they give off energy, and we are influenced. We are influenced by the energies that they give off. Of course, some of us are more sensitive to these energies and are more highly influenced and more conscious of them than other people are. It all depends on where we're at on the point of evolution. The energy, which originates from the supreme life, stimulates the spiritual nature and evolves consciousness. It is with these that the esoteric astrologer is concerned. Whether people are awakened or not, the whole idea of all the energy that is pouring in and affecting us is supposed to urge us to have an emergence of soul within us. So here's another good quote. Humanity is enough evolved so that the astrology of the soul will become possible before long. Yea, and we're now in it. Constitutes, from many points of view, a reversal of normal procedure. This is both wise and necessary, and also inevitable. Astrologers will eventually be divided into two classes: the exoteric astrologers, who will be occupied with the horoscope of the personality, and the esoteric astrologers, who will be occupied with the purposes of the soul. I was just telling BL and Michael, who are helping us in the background here, that I've been involved in this marathon of astrologers for 2 or 3 hours the last 2 or 3 evenings, and all of them are the exoteric astrologers. And I hunger for something more meaningful and more in depth than what is being offered. The esoteric perspective is just not there. And from my point of view, I realize how shallow in many respects some of this astrology is. Yes, they talk about what's happening. They give it a psychological bend to it. And they all seem to have the same references to qualities associated with the planets, like Venus is love and Saturn is malefic. I mean, and that's as far as they go. There's so much lacking in their understanding as far as I'm concerned. And so I am so grateful to be learning and to be able to know some of this material on the esoteric astrology. All right, let's move on. So what is the difference between the two? The exoteric astrology, which I've just talked a little bit about, concerns the personality and its outer life. So, for example, people will want to know, when is a good time to marry? Is this a good time to sell my house? Am I going to find another partner? All those everyday kinds of concerns is what the exoteric astrologer deals with. Also with one's fortune, to get an inside information which can be used to make for more prosperous and a happy physical plane life. And there's nothing wrong with this. Events, happenings, and circumstances of the conditioning environment in everyday life. And since we still live within these three worlds of men, within our physical plane of life, all of these things are important. Yes. It's the astrology of the material life. It's the astrology of our everyday encounters, functioning, meetings, circumstances. It is the correct astrology, however, to be used for the average person who's not yet conscious and not in touch with his or her soul. But it still applies to us as well. So we have to learn to incorporate both, because we are still human beings living our daily life out in the world. Okay. So exoteric astrology focuses upon the life of the personality, which is represented by the sun sign. So in your chart, we refer to the sun sign as being the personality. Those are the qualities of your personality. The sun is the heart of the exoteric chart, just as the personality stands all dominant and powerful on the early stages of the path. And BL will go into that in much greater detail when I'm done my portion here. Personality force is distributed through the lower bodies, which are represented by the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And yes, we can raise them up to mean more than just our everyday life, but the personality force and most of astrology refers to these planets and their combined forces, which are distributed within our environment and are represented by the houses. We are not going to learn how to delineate a chart in these series of webinars. We have done that, and that is available for anybody that wants it on our website, moriafederation.com. But just to say, a house is an area in which you work things out. So it's a field, an area, a field in the environment. For example, the fourth house represents your home. The sixth house would represent your work, your everyday work. So every house has a particular designation of descriptors that apply to it. The exoteric planets grouped around the sun represent the consciousness of the personality nature. For the average person, houses play a very big role, but not so for aspirants and disciples. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind, isn't it? That the houses, although we do make reference to houses and the areas in which this and this and this and this is going to apply to each and every one of us, they're not as important for disciples and for initiates as they are for average humanity. All right. So when we read a chart which focuses only on these planets that we just mentioned, including Jupiter and Saturn, would accurately indicate the outer life circumstances, the destiny, and the fate for a person who's not yet stepped onto the path of spiritual development. These individuals are still integrating the bodies into a forceful whole, which we call the personality, and they lack a strong and developed will. What does that mean? When we say that the individuals are integrating the bodies, we're referring to the physical etheric body or vehicle, the emotional body or vehicle, and the mental. And part of the evolutionary process is to learn to integrate all of that, to coordinate it, so we are a functioning whole that can be effective in the world. We can use the very crude example that I can walk, think, and chew gum at the same time. All the bodies are coordinated, working together as one. And when they are, that's when the will starts to be developed. Even willfulness requires a mental component. So as a consequence, when it's not integrated yet, and you're not functioning as a unique individual, you cannot make a powerful impact upon your life. You're really pulled by the circumstances and by the energies that are all around you. Well, that's what it says in the next thought here. They are shaped by the circumstances in which they are born, by the environment in which they live, and therefore the houses play an important part. So once the personality begins to develop, things will change. But as long as the focus is on the outer life, the exoteric chart is the most accurate guide for that particular life. Now, esoteric astrology, on the other hand, reveals the purpose of the soul in this particular incarnation. It focuses upon the expansion of consciousness, and it reveals the limitations in consciousness which bind the soul in time and space. It reveals also the soul force potential through the esoteric planets, which are, they represent the various signs, and how to offset the forces of the ego, the effect that the exoteric planets have upon it, and therefore enable the soul to get a better grip over the lower nature. It also shows us the tests and the trials ahead for us in the life, which will throw man back upon himself and force him to decide whether he will respond as a soul or as an ego. This is the part that we refer to when we say that a conscience has been born for the individual. A conscience requires one to make decisions. Oh, should I do this or should I do that? Is that being ethical or is that not? See, the conscience that is starting to develop creates a duality. So for a long, long period of life, we live this duality. Should I do this or should I do that? And this requires decision. That's why you have the word decide. You have decisions to be made constantly as the individual evolves more and more. The esoteric chart also indicates what the soul would like to contribute for the greater good, where fellowship, service, and soul fulfillment is to be found. Okay. So esoteric astrology reveals that which is hidden. Now, the word esoteric is synonymous with the word occult. Now, a word occult in many references has bad baggage, but in its true form, it still represents that which is not obvious, that which lies beneath the surface of what we are seeing or what we know. So it reveals the hidden. And that's what the whole idea of esoteric astrology is supposed to do. Okay, I think we can move on. So, what are we going to learn here through our esoteric approach? The sun sign indicates the present problem. Oh, think about that. Why would the sun sign indicate the present problem? I'm going to leave you with a few thoughts to think about. Hopefully you will. And when we get together again next time, if you still have questions on these, please let us know and we'll have answers for you. But in the meantime, do think about why the sun is the present problem. It sets the pace or the established tempo of the personality life and the outer life. It is related also to quality, to temperament, to life tendencies, which are seeking expression during a particular incarnation. We are told that fundamentally the forces here are indicative of the line of least resistance. And what do we mean by that? What is the line of least resistance? It certainly is not the stretch. The ascendant would be the stretch. But the line of least resistance is that which comes to you in a way naturally or easily. So for example, somebody might be very good in math or in sciences with a particular ray on their mental vehicle. That's still part of their personality, the mind, right? The mental vehicle. And they might find themselves leaning towards doing something in those fields, whether it's the sciences, medical fields, or engineering, or anything else. And then later on in life, they realize that this is not fulfilling, and that's because the soul is now speaking to them. But in the meantime, they have chosen, and most people do, they choose indications that have to do with their personality, which again, it's the least resistance. It's the line of least resistance.
Eva?
Yes.
Joe or J.O. added that it is the default mode of acting.
That's very good. And I would agree with that. It is the default. It's where we naturally fall into, if I can use this way of explaining it. It's certainly not an intuitive thing, you know. It's what you're comfortable with because of your abilities, your talents, your probably exposure in previous incarnations, and therefore you know how to do these things, and therefore you end up leaning into those areas. The ascendant or the rising sign indicates the intended life or the immediate soul purpose for this incarnation. It holds the secret of the future and presents the force, when it's used correctly, which will lead to success. It represents the harmony aspect of life and can produce right relationship between soul and personality in any incarnation. It therefore points to the recognition of the force of the soul. One thing we want to point out here is that the ascendant or the rising sign is not the soul. It's the method by which one should work out the soul purpose. That was a mouthful. So how do we work with that? Well, the first thing to know is the keynote or the key phrase associated with each sign. So using Cancer as an example, I build a lighted house and therein dwell. So once you know the keynote, you think about it and try to get behind it to understand what is it trying to tell me. And then you would also look at the qualities associated with that particular sign. So we know that energy can be used for good or bad, and just because it's an ascendant does not mean we don't appropriate. So no, let me rephrase that. We appropriate the energies, and based on how purified our system is and our bodies are, will depend on how we use that energy. So with Cancer, for example, Cancer is highly sensitive. Is it sensitive to vibrations? Is it sensitive to what someone says to them and then therefore they take it personally? Is it sensitive to the environment? All depends on how that sensitivity is used. Maybe that sensitivity is used to be very aware of how you might be impacting somebody else. How sensitive are you to that? So the word sensitivity can be used for proper beneficial ways, or it can be used for more what we call negative or weaknesses. Again, the characteristics are there, and how we use them always depends on where we are at in our point of evolution. But it still indicates the way by which the soul is going to move forward, carry out its purpose. How you get to know, what is my purpose? Okay, now the moon. It indicates the force of the past. So the moon is of the past. It summarizes our limitations and the present handicaps. It governs the physical body, as well as we often say that it has to do a lot with our emotions too, but it's called the prison of the soul. And that's another one to think about. Why is the moon the prison of the soul? So in these three, sun, ascendant, and moon, we have the present, which is the sun. We have the future, which is the ascendant, and we have the past, which is the moon. All of these, if you do nothing else and you look at these three areas of the chart, it gives you a very, very good understanding of a lot about that person. The past, the present, the future. But think about it. Why is the moon the prison of the soul? Why is the sun our present problem? Okay. So I've always enjoyed reading this sentence at the top. The story of man, the aspirant, is the story of his response to energies. We all have choices. We all can make choice constantly. That's what free will is all about. So how we respond to all the various energies we are exposed to is the way we evolve and move forward. It's the interplay between these different types of energies and the formation of a congregation of energy, which we call the body or the vehicle, such as the physical body or vehicle, the emotional body or vehicle. And they are meant to develop, to evolve, so that they are more sensitive to the soul and eventually more to spirit. And that's what purification is all about. I mean, we're all on a bandwagon right now to purify ourselves, whether we do this through exercise on the physical level, whether we do it through food we eat, through supplements that we take, through getting good nourishment and sleep. We're constantly working on purifying the form. And then we move up to the emotions. We work on learning to harness those emotions, learning to have them not going out of control, but for us to be able to wield them as necessary. And of course, the mental vehicle is constantly being exposed to knowledge. And how do we stimulate the mental vehicle? We learn to learn. We learn to study, and we expose ourselves to books. And we learn. That's what our universities are all about, is to expand the mind. Small units of energy, relatively speaking, are swept into contact with great fields of force, which we call planes. And I think I referenced this before. We have the various planes, the physical plane, the emotional plane, the mental plane, and they resonate to our vehicles, to our physical body, to our emotional body, and to our mental body. There's a whole science to all of this. We're just touching on this here for you. They constitute a temporary form that has externalized and is relatively tangible. and which can function as a medium so that the soul can contact larger forms of divine life and expression. So these bodies are externalized. Obviously, we are in the world, we are alive, and they are all there to help us to know who we truly are. We are so identified with our form, with these bodies, with our personality. How many of us really have experienced who we truly are? But that's what it's all about, is to lead us into that area. So the more organized and integrated the form is, which is the entire personality, the more perfect its response and mechanisms that are sensorial will be. It even says here that it's better to see the age of the soul and gauge the level of attainment along the path. What does it mean by the age of the soul? It doesn't mean that a 60-year-old individual and a 12-year-old individual, that the 60-year-old has a soul that's older than a 12-year-old. No, it just means that, well, we've had thousands and thousands of incarnations, and hopefully we've learned certain things. So when they refer to a soul being older, it's maybe it has learned more. Again, it's sensitivity to the impacting energies, is how we respond to those energies. You can have two individuals with the same number of lives. One could have already evolved a lot more than the other. How responsive are we to energies? These are all the choices we have. So that's what the age of the soul is in reference to. Okay. So moving along here, the exoteric ruler is the ambassador of the sign. I also use the word agent. It's the agent of the sign that it represents. And that house that particular sign is in relationship with has similar attributes as the sign does. So the first house is represented by Aries, let's say. So it would have similar qualities, characteristics, attributes of Aries, even though you may not have Aries as the first house. You might have Gemini as your first house, but similar qualities of initiating, pioneering, the form, the body, the head first kind of thing is all represented by that first house. Hope that's kind of clear. The esoteric ruler is how the energy of the planet helps us to move towards soul qualities. So going back to Aries, the exoteric ruler is Mars. And many of you already know that Mars is the god of war. It represents aggression, force, motivation to move forward, drive, all those qualities. That's the exoteric ruler. Now, the esoteric ruler is Mercury. And so for Mars, how perfect it is that Aries can use not only Mars, but can now use Mercury and think before it puts its foot in its mouth, to think before it irrationally does certain things, and come up with wonderful initiatives and pioneering ideas. And therefore, we can say many times that Aries is an inventor, because it uses the mind to come up with the new and inventive and great ideas. So we can see how we can work with the exoteric and the esoteric ruler. And that was just a very, very fast, off-the-cuff comment on that. Brings the energy into a broader scope with more abstract meaning and is not self-oriented. So once we start moving more with an esoteric approach, it's not all about me, me, me. We cannot be affected by the esoteric rulerships until we are on a certain point on the path, which is so true. The personality is controlled by planetary influences. Disciples are controlled by signs. So we'll talk a little bit in the next slide about the esoteric ruler. But the last point here is worth emphasizing, that personality is influenced by the planets. Disciples are more influenced by signs. So remember, average man is influenced by houses. Personality is influenced by planets, and disciples and initiates are more influenced by signs. Okay. When the exoteric ruler is in the sign that it's in, that it rules, or that it represents, or that it's the agent for, we call that dignified. That particular planet is dignified. When it finds itself in the opposite sign, it is in detriment. What does detriment mean? It's not comfortable in that sign. It tends to operate with less strength. Excuse me. Until the axis is balanced. And this is the whole point of the series of webinars, is to get and to talk about the axis. And we will be doing that. So, dignified and detriment. Okay, let's move on. So, esoteric rulers, we would only use them when we read a chart if we think for 1 minute the person we're reading the chart for is a disciple. That means awakened and starting to walk the path. Hierarchical rulers applies to initiates. We tend to say those that are 3rd degrees and higher, or close to 3rd degrees, but we certainly don't want to start throwing out hierarchical rulers when we do a reading to just anybody. Exaltations, what are they? When a certain planet is exalted in a particular sign, the power of that particular planet is as high as it can go. It points to a special relationship and affinity between the planet and the sign. Now, how we interpret that and how it is used is very interesting to observe. It can either be used and considered very high, or depending on where someone is at on their point of evolution, it can be very, very ordinary. Best example of that is Mars in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn is exalted. Well, how many people with Mars in Capricorn use it for really altruistic and really positive energy? If anything, it is used as extreme drive to succeed, which is ordinary. Mars is the drive, it's the push, it's the energy, it's power going forward. And Capricorn is about motive, wanting to succeed in whatever one does. So that's how it's generally used. So exalted planets that are in opposite signs. So for example, Mars exalted in Capricorn, its opposite would be Mars in Cancer, would be considered fall. When it falls, it loses its strength and influence. So we are told when something falls, something else needs to rise. Generally, an aspect of the personality has fallen. So higher energies need to rise. And we have to try to figure that out. I am one of these very lucky people that my whole chart is almost everything is either in detriment or in fall. I've had to spend so much time figuring out what is the point of all of this? What does it mean for me? Okay, so it requires contemplation, thinking about it, making it work in the life. Okay, I think we're almost done here. Yes, the 12 opposites must become the blended 6. So Capricorn is opposite Cancer. and how do we blend the two? And the same thing goes for all the signs in the zodiac. And this is brought about by the fusion in consciousness of the polar opposites. So before we move on to BL, are there any questions on what we've covered thus far?
I don't see any.
Well, I just hit them with that.
Oops, I got a hand up. Hold on, let me find it.
Vera.
Yeah, thank you. I don't understand the exaltation. So when do we say the planet is exalted? I didn't get that.
Okay, we have a chart, and maybe we will we'll put it into the when we post all these slides, we will also maybe add a chart which shows us the exoteric planet, the esoteric planet, the hierarchical planet, and the planets that are exalted. They are specific ones that are given to us. We do not choose which ones are going to be exalted. They are the ones that we've been given through, I don't know, astrology. I mean, exoteric astrology uses exaltations too. So it's not just an esoteric thing. But how that particular planet is used, now that's the question. How is it used? Is someone using it for higher purposes, or is someone using it for everyday personal life?
So it's given. Exaltation is given.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then Diana asks, how can we determine the soul houses? I would reiterate that what Eva said early on. We talked about chart delineation in our earlier webinars, and in that it included a couple of slides, one of the exoteric houses and one of the higher correspondence, the esoteric houses. And so I recommend that if you go to our webinars, and when I post this, I'll put a link for that so you can see the earlier webinars as well. When you go to the chart delineation webinars, the slides that we have for the last webinar include every single slide in that particular series. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers your question, Diana.
The other thing, Diana, is that once we have a pretty good idea of what the characteristics of a house are, we can spiral that up. So if the second house is known for values and resources, well, we can apply the same words on a more soul or spiritual level. Do we use higher values? Do we use higher resources, or do we use just resources to make our personal life more exciting and more beneficial? So some of the same characteristics can just be spiraled up. We don't even have to change the vocabulary that much. Okay?
Okay, that's all I see.
Okay.
For now.
Okay, so we're going to move this over to you, BL. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Eva. We needed to have that. We needed to have the basic understanding that Eva just gave us about astrology, exoteric and esoteric, the ruling planets and stuff. And so now let's get into the importance of the pairs of opposites that we're going to be discussing in this whole series. Life, as we all know, is always a balancing act. As we live, we learn and experience life to the fullest. Eva told you that the story of man is the story of his response to energy. This is true of all the pairs of opposites, which are experienced differently depending on our development. So we're going to explore some of those differences here. Eva told you about the difference between the exo and esoteric astrology, between the average person and the soul-centered person. And for that average person, we have the basic urge to experience, to exist, to satisfy that instinctual nature. There are intense periods of experience, of grasping for things, of just plain existing. These are followed by renewed demand for more satisfying experiences, or chasing fate or destiny. We go through cycle after cycle of demand for satisfaction. A small period of satisfaction before we realize it was a temporary thing, and then further demands, and the cycle begins again as we steadily pursue life as we know it on the three planes of human evolution. Okay, hold on just a second here. We have a question. Josephine says, it is a lot to integrate, and I look forward to applying and understanding this in relation to my natal chart. Great. That's one of our purposes. Okay. Sooner or later, we coordinate the three lower vehicles, as Eva told us, and that integrated personality then emerges. The cycle renews yet again on this slightly higher spiral as new demands crop up, are met, and then
Are you there?
yes,
Okay, something happened. Okay.
having a coughing fit.
Okay, that's fine. As long as we didn't lose you.
And then dissatisfaction occurs yet again and again. Then comes the demand for the inner spiritual journey. We vaguely realize we need to learn right discrimination and purify our lower vehicles. And that's when the pairs of opposites confront us. Maybe this is the greatest duality that found of the desire life. First thing we have to do is recognize the pairs so we can begin to confront them. Personality views them as opposing choices, either or, good or evil, pain or pleasure, right or wrong, sense or nonsense. As a soul, we learned that they're an inseparable pair. They have a definite purpose and they work in tandem, spirit and matter. Once we've learned to walk that middle way between the opposites. For the aspirant, there are actually three pairs of opposites to deal with as he progresses towards light and liberation. On the physical plane, there's the dense and the etheric. This is fought out upon the path of purification. On the astral plane, it's the well-known dualities. These are fought upon the path of discipleship. And on the mental plane, it's fought upon the path of initiation. Emphasis is usually laid upon the pairs of opposites to be found on the astral plane. Yet as we just saw, they're found on the physical and mental as well. On the physical plane, the etheric energy blends with the physical form, and then a moment of inner orientation towards the world of higher values, and the battle of the lower pairs of opposites takes place, with an emphasis on the physical disciplines, abstinence, celibacy, vegetarian, becoming a vegetarian, physical hygiene, exercise, and so on. That's preparing the man for the true battle to come. Materialism versus spirituality. There are today three major human trends. One is toward a spiritual and free way of life, one towards intellectual unfoldment, and a potent trend towards material living and aggression. I think we all recognize that today. We see it playing out everywhere in the world, especially as we see the second trend, the intellectual attitude, throwing its weight upon the side of these material goals. Yet a relatively small group is throwing its weight of human aspiration upon the side of spiritual values. And so we see the war between the pairs of opposites. Materialism and spirituality is actually raging quite fiercely. Only as men turn away from material aggression and towards spiritual objectives will the world situation change. The recognition of the cause of the problem provides humanity with the opportunity to end it. Let me repeat that. The recognition of the cause provides humanity the opportunity to end it. And the time has arrived in which it is possible to institute these changes in attitude, which will bring an era of peace and goodwill founded on right human relations. So we begin the necessary work of balancing the opposites. Our sense of self-identity is steadily growing. We've become integrated personalities with family and work obligations, as well as our spiritual aspirations to tend. It's no longer just about discerning right or wrong, but finding the balance in the many aspects of our life, finding the happy medium between all our commitments, and not working from any extreme. Let's look at a few of the fundamental principles about the pairs of opposites. We can see some opposites through the expression of the planets, the sun and moon, day and night, father and mother, Venus and Mars, feminine versus masculine, beauty versus brawn, Jupiter and Saturn, expansion versus limitation. I like to think of it as breathing out and breathing in. Each has a specific purpose, and there are many others who work in concert as these do. Sex is an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual reality. It's relationship existing between the basic pairs of opposites, father-mother, spirit-matter, positive and negative, between life and form, between the great dualities when brought together in the cosmic sense, they produce the manifested Son of God. The law of sex is the law of relations, bringing life and form together in order that divine purpose may be seen. It is a fundamental law of all creation, whether dealing with the informing life of a solar system, with the birth of an animal, or with the appearance of a plant. Sex is the word we use to cover the relation which exists between that energy we call life and form. It covers the activity which takes place when the pairs of opposites are brought together, and by means of which they become at one and produce that third reality. That third reality bears witness to their relation, and another life in form is now seen. You always have relation, at-one-ment, and birth. These three words deal with the true significance of sex. Now we can trace the evolution of man through the many stages and the pairs of opposites. None of these stages are in reality divided. There is no clear line of demarcation, and they don't really follow a clear sequence. There is a lot of overlap and some things going on simultaneously between all of these stages. But this is a good way to look at it. Okay? At the first initiation, the disciple demonstrates that he has resolved the dualities of the physical plane and can rightly impose etheric energy, which is the higher of the two, upon the physical energy. At the second initiation, the initiate demonstrates that he can choose between the pairs of opposites and proceed with decision upon the middle way. And at the third initiation, the initiate demonstrates that he can employ the intuition for the right perception of truth. At the fourth initiation, the initiate demonstrates that his ability to produce complete at-one-ment between the higher and the lower aspect of the soul is now manifested. There are three stages in terms of the ego, or the soul. First, the stage where energy manifested acts outwardly. The self becomes identified with its vehicles. This is strictly a personal stage. I am that. Second, the stage where adjustment occurs and the self is neither identified with its vehicles nor with itself. It is learning to choose between the pairs of opposites, and this is a period of the fiercest strife and turmoil. It's the battlefield where adjustment has to be made as the disciple learns to integrate to generate enough transmutative force to do the opposite of what was in the first stage. In other words, to learn to manifest the energy inward now instead of outward. And then there's the third stage, where the energy of the ego is centered at the heart of the circle and not the periphery. And energy is being applied through conscious effort of group service. The pull of the lower nature is superseded. The attraction of that which is higher even than the ego is now felt. The earlier process then must be repeated on this higher turn of the spiral, and monadic energy begins to work upon the ego. As we know, the astral plane is the primary plane of duality. It's the interplay of these opposites plus the energies released by the individual that has built up this world glamour that's a problem for so many people. This all works out in the early stages into a temporary astral unity, and then the one-pointed devotee emerges. His etheric unity has already produced reorientation that resulted in clear vision, a grasp of truth, and a picture of the immediate way ahead. He is temporarily glamored with a sense of achievement, of surety, of power, and of destiny. He goes ahead blindly, furiously, and ruthlessly until suddenly he's brought up sharp against the changing conditions, and he recognizes another and far more difficult situation. The pairs of opposites on the astral plane confront him. Personality versus soul. He becomes Arjuna upon the field of battle as all his sense of at-one-ment and direction disappear, and he is lost in the fogs and the glamours of the astral plane. Mystics who are conscious of duality are torn between these pairs of opposites. Their sense of awareness is on the physical plane. It's of such an order that they have passed on to the probationary path. But they are not yet polarized in the soul. These are the sensitive, struggling people who long for release from failure and from existence in the world today. Their mind natures are alive and active, but they cannot yet control them as they should, and the higher illumination remains just a hope, a final possibility. Each of these stages brings with it its own difficulties, but we're only going to look right now at how they hinder the mystic on the path as he stands midway between the pairs of opposites, facing 3 points of crises. By this time, the centers are becoming more awakened in him. The stage where the transference is made of all the lower energies into the solar plexus in preparation to move them to and focus them in the throat and the heart. This period covers the later stages of the path of probation and the early stages of the path of discipleship. The keynote is discipline, and the objective is idealism, personality effort, and purification and control. Transference to the ashna, the personality life becomes integrated and powerful. This stage covers the path of discipleship up to the third initiation. The keynote is the expression of the soul. The objective is the understanding of and the cooperation with the plan. And the final stage is the complete blending of these bodily forces, focused through the ajna, and soul focused through the head center, and then the rising of the kundalini. Karmic influence turn its attention to the working out of desire and its transmutation into the higher aspiration. Through experience, opposites are recognized by the man, and he no longer remains victim of his physical impulses. The factor of intelligence choice becomes apparent, and he begins to discriminate between the pairs of opposites, early on choosing those that appeal to his lower nature and what he believes will bring him pleasure. During this process, the center of the attention of the ego is the astral body, and it becomes so closely coordinated with the physical body that they form one united expression of desire. The mental body still remains comparatively inactive at this stage, as the love nature of the ego is what is being developed here. Duality is sensed, and the battle of the opposites occurs. The disciple makes his appearance as Arjuna, and after the battle, when Arjuna has made his fateful decision between personality and soul, it becomes possible for him to approach the higher mental plane where the soul resides. He recognizes himself as a soul and no longer as the form, and he discovers the group where he belongs. But his way is blocked until he discovers he can only approach it through service. Then, identified with the group and having earned the right to approach, he learns he does not travel alone. Initiation is a moment of crisis when the consciousness hovers on the brink of a new revelation. The demands of the soul and suggestions of the master are in conflict with the demands of the personality. As we've seen, there is a tremendous pull between the pairs of opposites. The disciple is standing at the midway point, and he has some choices to make. Will he respond and react consciously to the higher pull, and pass on to new and higher areas of spiritual experience? Or will he fall back into the glamour of time and space and the thraldom of the personal life? Will he stand in static quiescent, where neither the higher trend nor the lower affect him? In essence, doing nothing. The struggle between personality life and soul life grows, and the soul increasingly brings out the best the aspiring personality has to offer. And this slowly turns the attention toward the personality, making the aspirant aware of the lower personality factors that are not in line with true soul expression. Then the battle of the higher pairs of opposites begins in earnest, a battle between the soul and the personality. And this, DK tells us, is consciously waged on both sides. And he emphasizes that this is the point to have in mind. Both sides, the personality and the soul, consciously wage this war. And the moral to this story is that when the energies of the sun sign and planets, as Eva told us, the personality, are perfectly directed and adjusted, then the opposites are astrally regulated. When the energies of the sun and rising sign are blended, the opposites are mentally regulated, and a point of crisis emerges. So it all relates together, and you need to keep all of this in mind as we move next month into the signs and planets and the 6 axes of the zodiac. Next month it will be Aries and Libra. So I have one more slide, but before I move on to that, are there any other any questions or comments, or did you want to say something, Eva?
Not right now, but thank you.
And I don't see anything here either, because that was all just so clear. And oh, there we go. We got a hand up. Hold on.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. This is Joe Garcelle. First of all, I am an astrologer, and I've been listening to the presentation with a kind of a churning, which I guess is the opposition is making their show. The outstanding thing is this, that when I explain to my clients that they want to think in terms of polarities, I always say to them, it's sort of like there are positives on this side and there are positives on that side. There are negatives on both sides as well. And let's find a point of balance. So I tell them it's a teeter-totter. And listening to this early part of your presentation, it feels like we're in one great battle, but I don't know, maybe I'm a cockeyed optimist, because I feel like there's more balance, or maybe in this latter slide or two, I'm beginning to get the feeling that that's a future point of view to take as one matures on the path.
Yes, number one, I want to say thank you, because that is exactly a good approach. And as you'll see next month when we get into each axis, we actually use the teeter-totter.
Okay.
And some people are further along the path, and so they do work more from the middle and less of the extremes. The whole point is it's an axis, and the axis has a shared purpose. So the soul sees it as a unity, a shared axis that needs to be balanced. The personality is the one who thinks of it as two different extremes, either or the teeter-totter, and flips back and forth from them.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Okay.
We also felt that by offering the pairs of opposites on the various levels, it would offer a background as to why we even have to approach pairs of opposites. The Tibetan makes reference constantly to pairs of opposites, especially on the astral plane. And we learned through the presentation that BL offered how these pairs of opposites occur on every level, from physical to emotional to mental, then personality versus soul. Well, when we start to look at the astrology, we will see how these pairs of opposites need to find a point of balance, and how most of us don't know how to do that, and most of us don't even think about it. We hardly even think about it. We just worry about or think about our sun sign or our ascendant or the moon in terms of the sign that it's in. So this is a little background. It's more psychological than it is astrological that we've offered, but I think it's like taking a whole day to learn all of this material, and it's right here, and we've kind of honed in from a lot of different sources some of this. So hopefully you can look at this later on when it's posted and actually read some of these, slides.
Joe, you have your hand up again. Did you want to add something to what Eva just said?
No, I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay. And then we have a couple of comments from other people. Josephine says, it's all quite abstract. I want to look at concrete examples. I think, Josephine, that we're going to be presenting those concrete examples in the later webinars that we have. So I think that you will see, as you said, it has to start with the framework. So yeah, this is the framework that we're setting up, but we will be offering examples as we get into, we'll have 6 webinars, 1 on each axis. So we'll work on that. And then Jan says, I love your presentation and learned so much. Could you speak on the current time of Cancer Capricorn opposition with the recent eclipse? Thanks again for your workshop. Yeah, well, I guess now would be a good time to get to our last slide. We could not let this go without mentioning it. It's really kind of outside the scope of this particular webinar, but as Jan mentioned, it is a honkin' Cancer Capricorn. Now, I want to say that Elena did a really good job in her presentation for the festival week of New Group of World Servers when she talked about the stellium in Capricorn. So if those of you who haven't seen that yet, I would like you to look at it. But yes, we have a couple of powerful powerhouses here who were exact together. And as Eva mentioned earlier, both of these are considered kind of malefic, which exoteric astrology says they're bad for us. But for disciples, it's an opportunity. Saturn is an opportunity for us, and Pluto is some kind of transformation. So it isn't going to be pretty. Pluto digs deep and pulls all the ugly to the surface, so it can be dealt with. But it is an opportunity. So it's been tap dancing around this conjunction for a while, since April of 2019, and it will continue through it'll continue for a while. Anyway, the exact conjunction was today. started at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't make me do the math. What was that? 2 a.m. GMT. And it lasted exact until almost 1:30. So there was a 3.5 hour window that it was exact. All right. Now, it's going to stay within 1 degree. Saturn will stay within 1 degree of Pluto, which is a pretty darn close conjunction from 31 December through 24 January. And there were several passes in April. The final pass of Saturn before he separates and moves on is going to be several more months before we can say it's not really still a conjunction. So,
could I add a few things here?
yes, please.
The main thing that everyone is talking about is this conjunction, which is conjoined, of Saturn and Pluto, as BL has just said. Now, because Pluto is like the furthest away from the sun, it moves so slowly. Saturn, on the other hand, is almost midway, so it moves a little bit faster. It's now all caught up to Pluto. Both of them convey first ray. Saturn on one level conveys the first ray. Pluto, we know, is the first ray. They are both destructive. That's what first ray does. It destroys. And what it's meant to do, and what Pluto has done since it has been in Capricorn, and Capricorn represents all our institutions, our government, our politics, anything that is a system of any kind, it needs to be brought up to the surface. All that stuff that's hidden and underneath the surface is brought up by Pluto for us to see and to change. Well, Saturn comes in now and is now, it's doubly there. So we need to destroy that which hasn't worked. And now, what its ramifications are going to be, we don't know. There are some talks that it's been 500 years since the two of them were conjoined. But when they were opposite each other, that's when we had 9/11, when they were opposite each other, because they're very, very powerful. I am sure that what we just saw happening in Iran is as a result of this energy and the way in which it was used. Now, you can also see that there's a whole lineup of energies in Capricorn. We have the South Node, right? There's a South Node. We have Jupiter. We have the Sun. We have
it's Vulcan, and the position isn't exact, but it's got to be within 8 degrees of the sun, so it has to be Vulcan. There in Capricorn.
Then we have Saturn. Then we have Pluto, and we have Mercury. There is so much energy all together. So we have the heavy hitters of the karmic South Node. We have the Lord of Karma in Saturn. We have the Lord of Death in Pluto. And all of this is magnifying what has been out of balance, out of integrity, stuck, stagnant, and part of the old paradigm. And collectively, what it's doing in our planet. Now, yesterday was the full moon, where the moon was at 20 degrees Cancer. You can see how fast the moon moves, because it's at January 12th, which is tomorrow. It's going to be in Leo, 16 degrees. But yesterday it was 20 degrees of Cancer, which made it directly opposite this whole stellium. Stellium is 2 or more planets in the same sign, opposite Capricorn. If you look at the degrees, the sun probably yesterday was at 20 degrees, Vulcan at 22, Saturn at 22, and so on. So it's opposite that moon, which intensified all that energy in Capricorn. So war has been on our minds, which is insane. It's absolutely insane. But more than that is that war consciousness, if it's in our heads, it keeps us polarized between us and them, between good and bad, between pure and evil. And these things are totally unsustainable. all of this needs to radically change. Now, the only way we're going to do this is through the heart, right? The head-heart combination. Unconditional love, getting rid of unhealthy boundaries, responsibilities, integrity. This is the force that is going to heal the world. And now we're entering, well, we have already entered 2020, the year 2020. Now, 2020 is considered really good vision, perfect vision, right? Hopefully, we will have the vision to see what needs to be done, to see the future in a better way. And if we, as a collective, bring these thoughts into our consciousness, it's bound to have an effect. We know that the collective has tremendous power. If the collective is thinking about all this negativity, which so many astrologers are talking about, all this negativity with Saturn and Pluto, yeah, the energies are powerful, but we don't have to think in terms of negative. We can think in terms of ways to clean up what hasn't worked, and for destroying that which is of the old so that the new can take its place, and we can all think and see the betterment of humanity throughout the world. I guess that's all I have to say. There was another good thing about yesterday's full moon, which was at 20 degrees Cancer, and it was trining. The moon is a ruler of Cancer, it's the exoteric ruler, and it was trining Neptune at 16 degrees of Pisces, and Neptune is also the ruler of Pisces. So you have two dignified, remember, it's the planet that normally rules the particular sign, in trying to each other. So that's very positive. That speaks to love and heart and even astrality, our emotions. So that was a positive period of the moon yesterday, of the full moon yesterday. So, you know, we just have to envision 2020, envision a positive outcome in the future. Okay.
And I also wanted to point out, and then I'm going to go to Jan and Jan, I'm going to unmute you because I'd like you to talk more about what you've said here. Anyway, I would like to point out that there's two things going on here, all right? This Capricorn stellium, and specifically Saturn conjunct Pluto, is relative to each and every one of us insofar as it touches something in our chart. But more importantly, these are global actions. This is the energy of the sky around us, and it is impacting the world as a whole. And one of the reasons that I really like this New York chart is because it's doing it in the 11th house, the house of humanity, of the group. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Now, Jan, you're self-muted, Jan. Can you unmute yourself? What she says is, and Charlico, and I think that is one of the centaurs, but I'm not really familiar with it. Can you talk to us about that, Jan? You're self-muted. I think she's saying it's in Capricorn along with all those others. Is that what you meant? Well, we're not getting her, so let me go to Jo. Jo's got her hand up. Go ahead, please, Jo.
I can confirm that Charlico is right there at 22 degrees with the other three.
Oh, great. Wow. Quite a powerhouse there at that 22 degrees. So
incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is. There you go, Jan. Was there something else you wanted to say about that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't find the microphone icon. No, Joe hit that. That's what I have learned in the past couple of weeks about this Charlico, which is actually in mythology the wife of Chiron, the wounded healer. So this is the wife who kind of cared for him, and is supposedly a very compassionate type of energy of support and, you know, transcendence over the normal wounded archetype of, you know, victimhood or helplessness. So it's more to investigate for me. I don't know a lot about Charlotte. I think I'd learn some more.
That sounds very interesting, and thank you for bringing that up, because what it tells me is we were given some of the bad guys, but we were given the help along with them if she's there at 22 as well. And again, as we've pointed out all along, and I think it was Joe pointed out, you know, every sign, every planet has good things and bad things. It's just a matter of how you're working that particular energy.
I noticed with this Saturn and Pluto thing, personally, for me, it's bringing up a review of responsibility, you know, and what I'm willing to take on now in a conscious manner and in kind of a more evolved manner. So it's a serious thing, but I do agree it's very positive.
Yes, that's, I think I'm going through something similar. It is an opportunity for a disciple, and as you said, to step up the responsibility for, you know, the spiritual endeavors versus the personality type of it. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
I don't see any other questions or comments, so I would like to say thank you to everyone for attending. Eva, did you want to say anything before we say goodbye?
No, just I'm gonna say goodbye, but we're going to be far more concrete as we proceed. So hang in there with us for those of you who need more of that. And yeah, I think it'll answer a lot of questions.
Okay, we have a hand from Sarah. You're self-muted, Sarah. Click your little microphone. There you go.
Oh, hello. Hi. I was wondering if I wanted to have my astrology chart done by one of you ladies. Would that be a possibility, please?
I'm sorry, I am absolutely swamped for the foreseeable future.
I'm working on a few things now too. Let's wait until we do the next one and see if you still want to have it done, and then, you know, I might consider that. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay.
All right then. Again, thank you everybody, and we hope to see you next time, which our next one is going to be on, is it the 8th, Eva?
I thought it was the 10th, but let me just, I can check. I've got it all here.
Did you see the comment from Anne Veronica?
Nope, I didn't, thank you.
It was told in the webinar of the group servers that the wife of Heron, sorry, can't remember her name, will be in the sky for 1 year. Okay,
that was the wife of Chiron, the wounded healer. This right here is Chiron, and her name was Charliko, Charliko. They're both centaurs. Okay.
Okay, BL, I have it down, believe it or not, for the 22nd. I think it had interfered with some other webinar, and we had to change the date we'd originally thought about.
Oh, that could be. That could be. Let me check something here really.
So you may need to check, because
January, February. Oh yeah, the pre-full moon.
Yeah. See?
So yeah. It is. It's for the 22nd of February. Thank you very much, Eva, for checking that. You know, when I send the announcement out, I'll put that information in there. And like Eva said, we will include the slides for you people to look at there when we post everything. So.
And do you have a slide that we can add that includes all the rulers?
Yes, I can make that.
Exalted ones as well.
Yeah.
And you know what else might be a good idea to include is the keynote for a slide for the keynote for each of the signs.
Okay. All right. The keynotes. Although I think we talk about that in the axes, but I'll add that.
We do, but this way it'll all be on one. You know, on one piece of paper.
Right. So you guys can refer to it as we talk about them as we go.
I know we had that previously on the other webinars we did, but you know, every time we do this, it's good to bring it forward.
To emphasize that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.